We are fairly certain we know who the major players are at wide receiver in the 2026 rookie class, but there could also be plenty of surprises as well. So today we are going to cover 11 different wide receivers in this class and give you our pro comps for them. Now, I actually want to start the top of the show with something that is far more important than us giving you comps for players in this rookie class, and it's that we grieve with Rondale Moore's family, who took his own life recently. Obviously, by the time you're listening to this will be a few days old. I think what strikes me about it is I'm just heartbroken that any 25-year-old has to think and feel and worry about being enough. With the spotlight that is on professional athletes, we think they have it made, but in reality, anybody can be hit with depression, suicidal thoughts, whatever that may be. And what I want to make sure you all know out there is if you are struggling with that in any capacity, you are more than enough. You are worth more than you could ever imagine. And if that is you, I do encourage you to seek help of some capacity, in a loving way, right? Whether that is through therapy, whether that is even just simply calling the prevention hotline, whatever it may be. You are worth more than you could ever imagine. You truly are a treasure, and we grieve and we mourn with the passing of Rondale Moore. And I just can't even stomach that a 25-year-old has to process and deal with all of those things, and it comes at the cost of his own life. So obviously rest in peace to Rondale Moore. We are praying for peace and love to wash over his entire family. And there's no great way to transition into giving you comps than Ty, but we're going to do our absolute best to keep spirits high in this episode as we talk about other wide receivers entering into the NFL and living out their dreams. We're going to start at the top with Carnell Tate, who I'm not sure if you've updated your wide receiver rankings, but he's my wide receiver 1 in this class. What I love about Carnell Tate is that this dude is always open. He's such a smooth route runner. He runs his routes with great tempo. There's never wasted motion within his routes. These are the kind of players, if you listen to how I talk about Emeka Egbuka last offseason, these are the kind of players that I just absolutely fall in love with, Ty. There's great field awareness in terms of sideline, sitting down versus zone as well. Where are you at on Carnell Tate? I imagine he's in your top 3, obviously, but are you gushing over Carnell Tate as much as I am?
Yeah, I am. He's my wide receiver 2. He is like a hair from being my wide receiver 1 as well. Just some of the highlight catches that he makes, insane body control, ultra reliable hands, where he is your best friend if you're a quarterback in the scramble drill. There are nuances to his route running. He's not the flashiest, but you can kind of understand if we're kind of being the X receiver that he is. There's not a lot to dislike about Carnell Tate's game, and he's going to make an impact right away in the immediate. You may not see it in fantasy points. You may not see it on stat lines, but he's going to make an impact. He's going to make a difference for that offense. He's going to raise that ceiling because, again, he can stretch the defense. He can stretch the field. And that just, it's another body to worry about for opposing defenses.
I think if you want to pick apart his game a little bit, if you want to nitpick, I mean, we're not looking at an ideal build and frame for a wide receiver 1 in the NFL. And I do think press corners, I think they can limit his early release. Anything that you're like concerned about in terms of Carnell Tate's game that will prevent him from succeeding at the next level?
I'm not completely sure. Maybe it's just the fact that he's not a great separator when it comes to his route running, but at the same time, he makes up for it, right, with the nuances in the route running where he can maintain speed and it keeps DBs guessing. And again, when you have the ability to go get a ball with the body control, but then you have ultra reliable hands to catch the ball inside and outside of your frame. You can kind of make up for some of that lack of separation. So there is no such thing as a perfect prospect.
No.
So there will be downsides to every player that we talk about. Same with Carnell Tate. But the thing that you need to look for when it comes to these prospects is, do they have components to their game that can actually make up or at least cover up some of the downsides that they have? And I think for Carnell Tate, like I said, with the hands and the body control, he can make up for some of those downsides of size and all that stuff.
So in terms of your comp, then let's get to the comp at an NFL level. Where are you at on Carnell Tate?
I shouldn't say I keep going back and forth, because that insinuates that there's two players I keep going back and forth between. There's only one player. But I'm not completely sold, because I don't think he's as much of the athlete that this guy is. So I'm just going to kind of call it shades of George Pickens a bit.
Okay,
where
sure.
You can have him on the outside if you need him to get, if you need to get the ball 40 yards downfield, your best bet is getting the ball to George Pickens. Your best bet is getting the ball to Carnell Tate. And I think Carnell Tate, he offers a little bit more to underneath. So he's not only a vertical threat. But for Pickens, it kind of got him. It took a while for him to get to be where he is at now when it comes to the short parts of the field. So again, shades of George Pickens. Not completely sold on it, because again, it probably feels weird just because of the season that George Pickens had. And it's just like, can Carnell Tate really match that? Obviously not in year one, but that's the closest comp that I can give him right now.
So this episode's always fun for me, because, as you know, I like to get a little bit out of the box with my comps. I will never give you a straight player for a comp. I always have to give some sort of caveat on the player, because I'm tired of all of the like, oh, this dude is Amon-Ra St. Brown comps, but also the like, I don't want to compare a guy to Malachi Corley. That feels pretty disgusting. If I have
feels
to do
pretty
that.
low.
So feels pretty disingenuous and pretty brutal. So I always like to get a little bit creative, and like I talk about his fluidity. You talk about how you can move Carnell Tate inside all around the formation, the never wasted motion. Shasta twist JSN. That's where I'm at with Carnell Tate. The quick trip Shasta twist hits just slightly different. It's not as good as the full brand Sprite, but you know what? It's still pretty dang good, and it'll serve its purpose. So obviously, I don't want to go as high as JSN, because we know what season JSN just had. Even in 2024, the season JSN had. Like, I think we got work to do there for Carnell Tate, but I'm telling you, the fluidity, the awareness, everything. It just reminds me of JSN, and not just because he went to Ohio State.
Well. Hey, I'm just gonna say this, okay? You could have had Emeka Egbuka, you could have had Chris Olave, and I would have gone, yeah, I can understand that one a bit. I can understand that. And yeah,
Chris Olave is probably more accurate.
But yeah, definitely not because they went to Ohio State. That's
not because all of them went to Ohio State.
No way.
Not at all. Not at all. Before we get to the rest of the big three and a bunch of other players in this video, 10 other players we're going to cover. If you love rookie content coverage, if you love Dynasty fantasy football, if you love the NFL draft, this is the place you're going to want to be this offseason. So make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell as well, so you know when all of our newest content is up. Later this week, we're going to be doing running back and quarterback comps in the same video, just because the sample size is much smaller this year. So we'll combine them in one video, and we've got a bunch of other dynasty and rookie content coming for you all as well. So we want to give you our insights, but also want to remind you of like the fun and camaraderie that comes with loving the game of football and fantasy football this offseason and all throughout next season as well. Ty, you mentioned Carnell Tate, your wide receiver 2. Makai Lemon is my wide receiver 2. And if your rankings have not changed, I do believe Makai Lemon is your wide receiver 1. Yes or no?
Correct.
So why is that?
I just see the playmaker of this wide receiver draft class. He's got a great release package off the line right now. He's a shifty route runner that can burst out of his breaks that leaves DBs in the dust. And for his size, because he is a tad undersized. USC listed him at 5'11", 190, I believe, going into this year.
Yep.
But despite that, he plays so much bigger than that. He's got great ball tracking. He is feisty at the catch point, and he makes some spectacular catches that you're just like, how in the world is he getting his hands on the football right there? He consistently breaks one or more tackles when he has the ball in space. Obviously there's no perfect prospect, so he is more quick than fast, which is not, it's, I don't want to say it's not great, but for 5'11", 190, I would hope that you've got some speed. I'm not saying that he's like slow, right? But it's more just kind of average, maybe solid speed at that. Play strength is probably another concern. You could probably just go look at the Notre Dame tape and just go,
yes,
man, when he gets pressed, he has a tough time working through that. But again, that's all kind of understandable for 5'11", 190. And I think of the NFL, teams are getting much smarter in where they're lining up their guys. Makai Lemon is not going to be a slot only. He can work out of the slot. But you don't need him to line up at X. You can line him up at Z, right off the line where he's off of press coverage and where he can utilize his releases, and then his route running to get DBs off of him. So I'm absolutely head over heels for Makai Lemon, which I would like to say is just my way of showing how much I've grown as an evaluator, because I think in years past I would have been scared off by the size. I would have been scared off by the potential limitations a team could put him on. But I just look at Makai Lemon, I'm like, he is so much better than all of that. Teams are going to notice that too, and they're going to do whatever they can to put him in space, because again, he is a playmaker.
Yeah, you named so much of what I saw as well. I hate that when I watch the Notre Dame tape, the physicality against press coverage was the one thing that just like stuck out like a glaring red flag at me. And again, and you named it, NFL teams are getting creative with how they're deploying these players, right? So it's not a red flag to a point where I'm scared off by Makai Lemon, like you said, but it's something we have to at least keep on the list. You're right. I think he has more of a limited route tree on the outside as well. He definitely thrives more as a slot receiver. He can run the outside routes, but it's more limited in my mind. But he just makes up for it with excellent body control to still win in tight coverage. He's plucking the ball to make catches outside of his frame. Underrated trait. Dude will throw a block. He'll throw a block on a defender too. And I love that. I literally put in my notes, throw a block, get the rock, because this dude would go out and block for about 4 plays in a row. And the next thing you know, he's catching a slant over the middle of the field and picking up some yards after the catch. So he's savvy. He's got high IQ against zone. There's a burst when the ball hits his hands as well. It's not speed. You're right. It's definitely quickness and burst. And I wish he had more speed, but man, I want to get into the comps because I think this could be fun. Where are you at?
I've got the Amon-Ra St. Brown comp. And I think
you do.
I know I do. I want to acknowledge it's not going to be Amon-Ra St. Brown from the get-go. But this is the mold. This is the build of Amon-Ra St. Brown. And again, you can see the path that was set by Amon-Ra St. Brown for offenses when they get their hands on a Makai Lemon of like, hey, yes, he's not the most physically imposing guy, but you get him in space and you let him again operate off of press coverage, and he will torch dudes all day long. Makai Lemon is a future like cornerstone wide receiver one for a team, even though he's not the traditional size, but the dude just makes plays all the time. And that's what teams value the most.
All right. You ready for this one? Buckle in, boys and girls. The Golden Tate of Amon-Ra St. Brown's. I'll just let people digest that for a minute. Right. Every time I give a comp, I'm gonna leave 3 seconds of silence just for people to digest it, and then let the light bulb click of like, I get where he's going with this. I cannot reasonably, in my right mind, give a comp of Amon-Ra St. Brown, but I get flashes of Golden Tate in this game too, and I think if we're talking about like Amon-Ra St. Brown being the peak of Makai Lemon, I think realistically we're probably sitting, a few notches down. He'll probably be better than Golden Tate, but in the grand scheme of how you evaluate Amon-Ra St. Brown, I think he's going to be slightly less, but it's the play style. It's 100% in alignment with Amon-Ra St. Brown. So that's why I say the Golden Tate of Amon-Ra St. Brown's.
I feel like this is like a glass half full, glass half empty thing where it's like the glass half empty is, again, he's the Golden Tates of the Amon-Ra St. Browns. But if the glass is half full, he's the Amon-Ra St. Browns of the Golden Tates. You know what I'm saying? Know what I'm saying?
Right. That's exactly what it is. It's a glass half empty view of that. The other member of the big three in this class, Ty, Jordyn Tyson out of Arizona State. I was surprised I wasn't higher on Jordyn Tyson. I thought I was going to come out of Jordyn Tyson's film and like I thought he was going to clear Carnell Tate for me. And it's not even that I don't like Jordyn Tyson. He's very clearly my wide receiver 3 in this class because you can line him up anywhere on the field. He is the craftiest and most manipulative route runner in the class. He tracks like a center fielder. I absolutely love that about him. And he's still highly competitive at the catch point. There's a lot I really do like in Jordyn Tyson's tape. There's enough weaknesses where like he's below Makai Lemon and Carnell Tate for me, but give me your outlook here on Jordyn Tyson. What did you see when you watched him?
To keep it short and sweet, he rarely got caught on the line, so he's able to shake off some press tight coverage off of the line. He's able to stack DBs, and what that means is he gets on top of them, so DBs are always like riding his back, trying to get a feel for where he's trying to go. But then he can shake them because he's got some serious suddenness with his breaks that just leaves dudes like kind of flailing, right? Because they're just not ready for it. And my favorite route of his that he has in his arsenal are his out and in breakers. Like DBs are constantly falling off of it because again, he just snaps off of them and DBs don't even have a chance to react. So he's not the most physically imposing. He's not he's 6'2", 200. I think that was the measurement that Arizona State had him at. You would kind of hope that he was more, the 50-50 stuff was more 60-40. And what I noticed, it was probably more like 40-60, maybe even 30-70. So I think the best way to say it is that he's a finesse, or he's got some finesse to his game in a bigger frame and a bigger build, which I had to struggle with for a little bit because I was like, that sounds contradictory. But at the same time, to have that ability at your size to just shake dudes off whenever you want, because you can just break in and out of your routes. That is a trait that you can fall back on all the time. So the one concern, or I shouldn't say the big concern that you're going to hear about all the way until draft time, the durability and the injury concerns.
Yes. He's a medical red flag.
He's a medical red flag. So my comps don't really work. I shouldn't say they don't work out, but
are you going to get into the comp right now?
I might as well just go ahead.
Well, I have one more thing that I wanted to ask about, because I think there was something in Jordyn Tyson's film in regards to his route running that I really, really enjoyed. And there was parts of it where I don't want to say he like played with his routes a little bit too much, but you had sent over the exchange between Matt Harmon and Hayden Winks on Twitter, where Hayden put out like a very fascinating tweet of, I see some Jerry Jeudy on the Jordyn Tyson film. And I thought about that, and I'm like, you know what? I love Jerry Jeudy as a route runner coming out. So if you're like going from like the route running perspective, I 100% get that. But then Matt Harmon chimed in and he says, a little overhype on the route running thanks to some twitchy moves in a phone booth. Like, I kind of get it if that's the case. And that's what it was for me. It's not that Jordyn Tyson like wasted movement, but I think there's like pros and cons to being so twitchy right within a phone booth where, I really wish it would be one and go rather than, again, not playing with his food, not playing with the route a little bit too much, but there's just a little bit too much that happens in the phone booth sometimes. That, like, again, it's not an outright concern, but it was enough for me where I'm like, what's that going to what's that going to add at the next level? I'm not sure.
There's going to be some growing pains to that because I think he's going to try to overrun his routes, if that makes sense, where he's going to try to do too much, and DBs are just going to get in the way and just be like, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" Right. But again, I think the hope that you have for Jordyn Tyson is that with NFL coaching, right, he is able to get rid of that kind of excess route running, that he can just simplify it and just let the suddenness, let the breaks do the work for him. Because again, when he keeps it simple, that's when he's at his best.
Yes.
So again, I'll just go right into my comp. My low end was Jerry Jeudy because I was like, there is the route running chops to this.
Totally.
My high end comp on the flip side, from a physical standpoint, it doesn't really make sense. But I think from a like NFL production standpoint, it's a bit of a Terry McLaurin type where it's like, he's going to be he's going to be seen as a really solid teams are, a team could look at him as like their wide receiver one, but he's just never really going to be consensusly seen as top 10, top 12, whatever, but he's going to be really, really, really solid given that he stays healthy.
All right. I think you'll like this one, and I think this one will actually this might be my most clear one that I've given yet. Brandon Ayuk before he got a contract. Brandon Ayuk before he got his contract.
I don't mind it. I don't mind that.
Because I think about, I go back to, what was it, the 2023 season? I believe it was San Francisco versus Pittsburgh in week 1, and it was that just filthy route that Brandon Ayuk just put the Steelers DB on skates for basically.
And that wasn't just any DB. You know who that was?
It wasn't just any DB.
That was Patrick Peterson.
Yeah, it was Patrick Peterson, right? So putting Patrick Peterson on skates, and there's just flashes of that where I'm like, put Jordyn Tyson in that scenario, I wouldn't be surprised if he goes out and does the same thing a handful of times during his NFL career. So, yeah, Brandon Ayuk before he got a contract. That's my Jordyn Tyson comp. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at Underdog, where you can get into the game this season playing Pick'em. It's extremely simple. Just pick higher or lower on 2 or more of your favorite players. For example, I'll pick the higher on Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, and Xavier Worthy. If I played $10 and got all 3 of them right, I would win $60 just by watching football. And that's the beauty of Pick'em. You can track your picks and your wins while you enjoy the game. Now, if you're not on Underdog yet, scan the QR code on your screen or use our code FELLAS when you sign up, because new customers will get $50 in bonus funds when you play your first $5 on the app. Plus, Underdog will give you a free pick to use in your first entry. Again, that's code FELLAS over on Underdog. Now let's get you back to the rest of the show. All right, after the big 3 in this class, I think it is truly a debate of who you have at wide receiver 4 to, dare I say, like wide receiver 8. For me, I think 4 and 5 are pretty clear tie. Most people may have Casey Concepcion here. We'll start with him. I'm not sold he's actually my wide receiver 4 in this class. I think he's my wide receiver 5. But let's enlighten the people a little bit on Casey Concepcion, give them a little bit more rounded of a prospect profile here. Where do you like parts of Casey Concepcion's game?
The dude is just lightning in a bottle. Like he's a jolt of energy. I think I can generalize Casey Concepcion like this. He can effectively attack both man and zone coverages.
Like, but there surprisingly, I was surprised by that on his film. Yeah.
I think there are. Go ahead.
It's just sneaky zone awareness that like snuck up on me in his film.
Yep. But then at the same time, there are moments where it feels like he's just trying to win with speed rather than truly, snapping off of his brakes on the in and out breakers, or, dropping the hips and coming back to the ball on the curls and the comebacks and all that kind of stuff. He just kind of relies on, I'm going to speed up the DB because I'm so fast. And then I'll just be able to do what I want. And knowing that he's not the most physically imposing receiver as well, I worry that when he gets into the NFL, some DBs are going to be able to, I shouldn't say going to be able to all the time, but there will be more times where DBs can run for him step for step. Yes. And he if he's not going to be able to just snap off of his brakes and burst out of the brakes then to get himself open, he may get bottled up a little bit more. But the biggest red flag that I have for Casey Concepcion, he has 19 drops. Let me repeat. 19 drops.
And a lot of those are in the teeth of the defense.
Yeah, totally. And there's one play, I'm trying to remember which, I think it was against South Carolina. They're inside the 5 and he's in the slot and he's just running a simple slant. Mm-hmm. And he is wide open. There is no one within 5 yards of him. And the ball literally bounces off of his hands and he drops it. And it's just like, we can't be having that, man. Like,
yeah,
I know we don't like body catchers, right? When it comes to receivers, dude, just catch that with your body. Like there's no, you can't, to try to be perfect with every single catch. I feel like that's kind of that's Casey's like thorn in his side a bit of just like, man, just make the catch. Somehow just make the catch. Even when there's no one around you, just make the catch. So again, 19 drops in 3 years. That's a big concern. So
can I add, that's especially painful when he can run every route over the first 2 levels of the field too.
Yeah.
He can run those routes. Like there's nothing that I watched where I'm like, well, you know what? He actually isn't great at the second level. It's like, no, he can get into that part of the field, but oh my gosh, dude, if you can just hold on to the ball, you can use that gift of getting north and south after the catch so much more to your advantage when these NFL teams are learning that attacking the middle of the field is the key to pushing the ball down the field at this point. So yeah, it's painful that he has that many drops. And I was so frustrated by that because I'm like, if he just held on to the ball, I think you're pretty confidently my wide receiver 4.
Yep, I would agree with that as well. I like Casey again. He's probably the most frustrating receiver, at least out of the top 5, because it's just like, dude, you are so close from, again, making yourself so much more well-rounded of a prospect, but that we have the concentration drops. We have, again, the downfield routes. That's where the speed where he tries to win with speed the most is on the downfield stuff. And yeah, there are times where like he can shake a DB because he gives him an outside step and then he cuts it back in. And DBs are just like, oh, whoa. But like, if we can, I want to give credit to Texas A&M because they actually made him run a more expansive route tree versus NC State, where he was kind of a gimmicky guy, just get the ball in space kind of guy. And so Casey kind of stepped up to the plate and was able to thrive with a more well-rounded route tree. But again, it's just the tiny details within all of that where it's just like, man, you can, but it's so inconsistent.
Yeah. Which again, is just so frustrating. So when you think about his comp, then where do you land?
You're going to love this because you're a Vikings fan.
Oh,
I get shades of Percy Harvin.
You know what? Get that dude in the end zone as a kick returner. That could be a lot of fun.
Right.
That could be a lot of fun.
And Concepcion has that experience where it's like, man, some special teams coordinator is like is salivating at the fact that like I can have Casey Concepcion return kicks against with the current kickoffs and all that kind of stuff. But Percy Harvin, I think, was a little more athletic than Casey Concepcion. Casey Concepcion, I think, is still more speed than athlete. But again, that's why it's shades of Percy Harvin, because I'm just like, again, lightning in a bottle. You get him in space.
Yep.
Look out.
I went a little bit of a different direction. I like the lightning in a bottle approach that you took. I feel like the player that I'm going to use is a relatively common comp. I just made it a little bit more fun. Gen Z Emmanuel Sanders is where I'm at for Casey Concepcion.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
Quick,
I like
you
that.
get the ball into his hands, he can make something happen. If you need him to win downfield, he can get one for you. He can get outside of his radius, massive vertical window if you need him to. Emmanuel Sanders after Emmanuel Sanders was cool.
Real quick, I got a text from Cam with his comp for Casey Concepcion. I don't know why it was just for Concepcion. He said Xavier Worthy, and not just because they're fast. So take that as you will. Take that as you will.
That's such a good bit. Okay, let's move on to who I actually think is my wide receiver 4. I shouldn't say I think, who as of right now is my wide receiver 4 in this class. That's Denzel Boston. Dude, he for his size, he is such a fluid route runner with pro level ball skills. Yeah. Another guy that's easy to like on film for me. This dude spans zip codes with his catch radius. I love players who actually play to their size, and I don't watch their film. I'm like, you know what? You just win because you're big. But like Denzel Boston plays like he's big, and that's the best way I can explain it. Maybe you can put some more context as to what I might actually be trying to communicate, but man, I love his size. He plays to his size. He doesn't just rely on his size, but it's paired with the fluid route running and the ball skills and the catch radius. That just, it's easy to watch.
Yep. There was my early comp for Denzel Boston before I finalized it was a Jaden Higgins type, where it's just like,
yep,
there is
I have that thought.
The fluidity of an outside X receiver at 6'4". It is rare. Not a lot of teams have that. And you can have an X that's 6'1" with fluidity, but 6'4" is a entirely different beast.
It's an entirely different skill set. It's an easy player for me to enjoy. It's why I like Jaden Higgins so much last year too.
Bingo. The only weaknesses for Denzel Boston are from being 6'4".
Yeah, right.
You are slow in changing direction because, again, you are so much bigger. You have little to no burst out of your brakes because, again, you are 6'4". You won't make guys miss in space because, again, you are 6'4". There is no
second gear.
Exactly. Like, there are no extra red flags. All of it is just because you are 6'4" and you are therefore limited in some other areas that some other receivers can excel in.
I'll throw out a cheap one too. I think when you saw the level of competition rise, Denzel Boston just like wasn't as good either.
Yeah.
It's cheap, but like it has to mean something at the end of the day. You can only beat up on bad teams for so long. So go ahead.
The one thing that I will say about that, just watching Washington as a whole this year,
which is also something to be said about that.
Yeah, the entire offense struggled when they went up against tougher competition. Like, watching the Michigan game film for Denzel Boston, I'm just like, that offensive line could not do a single thing to slow them down. So it's not all on Denzel Boston, but at the same time, there are certain moments in that film where you're just like, that's kind of a bummer.
Right. That's what it is, right? It's not even like a full knock. It's just like, I wish like I would have watched this and not gone away thinking it's probably more than just you not performing well against good competition. But like, I really wish the film would have just said you excelled no matter the level of competition. So let's get into the comps though, because I think that's the majority of what we can say about Denzel Boston. He plays to his 6'4" size. You have the natural cons that come with that. So what's your comp?
Mike Williams.
Oh, I like that one, actually. I do like that one. Anything within the zip code is his.
Bingo. and just a steady X presence. You can line up other guys on the other side of him, but you know that Mike Williams, I mean, I know that Mike Williams kind of dealt with injuries and stuff, but like, hey, again, just running the X kind of route tree where things are vertical and you need to go up and get it. Denzel Boston.
I am going to cheat and use a little bit of the Washington University connection on this one. How about Michael Pittman disguised as Rome Odunze?
It makes sense in my I get what you're saying. It may take a minute, but I get what you're going at.
You get what I'm going at, right?
Yes.
I can't just say Michael Pittman. I also like, I think when I say disguised as Rome Odunze, it's not like necessarily even Washington Rome Odunze. It's like the Rome Odunze that we've gotten in the NFL thus far. That's like hasn't exactly lived up to expectation. So I think there's like a world where Denzel Boston is probably closer to what Rome Odunze has given you in the NFL than like what Michael Pittman has given you in the NFL already. But I felt like the easiest way to kind of explain with two players what I was seeing in Denzel Boston of Michael Pittman disguised as Rome Odunze. I want to get into a few other players now, Ty. We won't go as deep dive on these players, but there's been a lot of talk about Daniel Jeremiah's top 50 prospects. And a lot of wide receivers cracked this list. And none other surprised me more than Omar Cooper Jr. coming in as Daniel Jeremiah's 19th overall player. That, like, I how do I want to explain this? It wasn't like a moment where my eyes popped out of my skull, but that caught my attention because Omar Cooper Jr. is physical. Pick an attribute of toughness, rugged. He's a steamroller. Whatever. Like, describe him as physical in any way, and it fits Omar Cooper Jr. He's also versatile enough to be more than just a slot option, but there's enough inefficiencies and, like, how do I say it, like, detrimental nuances in his routes where I think he's just going to end up being an average player rather than a good player. So how are you in alignment with, I don't want to say are you in alignment with Daniel Jeremiah, but what do you make of Daniel Jeremiah's bullish ranking? But then also, how does that compare to what you've seen when you've turned on Omar Cooper Jr.?
So I'll say this up front. I haven't finalized my grade and my ranking for Omar Cooper, but it is not going to surprise me if he's going to crack my top 5.
Okay.
Because again, the physical presence that he brings with the fluid route running that he does possess, that gives me some optimism that we can work across the formation, that we can line up as an X if we really need to, as a Z, as a Y, wherever. Like, you're going to be kind of not utility knife for an offense, but an offense is going to see that, hey, you can make plays because you can go across the middle because you're not scared of contact and you'll work through contact. Like, there is, like, Omar Cooper is one of the more well-rounded wide receivers at this point in this draft class. The thing that I do have concerns about, he's not the most explosive, but again, would you like every wide receiver prospect to be explosive and as physically imposing as Omar Cooper? Yes. But more times than not, you got to take one or the other. And you just best pray and hope that you don't have either. If you don't have either of those, you're probably going day 3, if not undrafted. So if for the lack of explosiveness, he makes up for with physicality.
Yep.
I know that Indiana's offense has kind of had some scrutiny in recent weeks just because they were so RPO heavy. Mm-hmm. So maybe there is some, kind of murkiness as to how good of a route runner he actually is. Like, if you get him outside of an RPO system, exactly how effective is he going to be? But again, this isn't my comp. It's Puka Nacua-ish of just the dude will just do whatever it takes, right?
Sure.
The dude will do whatever you ask of him, and he will do it to the best of his ability.
There's a different player I would have used to describe that, but I also get kind of what you're saying with Puka. The mentality.
So, the mentality, yes, the mentality of it. So I think there is a future for Omar Cooper. I don't know if he's going to be a wide receiver 1 on a team, but he can be a very, very, very solid wide receiver 2 on an offense.
Which that's kind of the tier we're getting into here, right? I think Carnell Tate, Makai Lemon, and Jordyn Tyson are all going to be good starters in the NFL. I don't know if they'll be wide receiver 1 for their teams outright. I think if Carnell Tate gets drafted to a team like the Browns, he absolutely will be. Jordyn Tyson, etc. But like also there's plenty of teams out there like Miami or the New York Giants even who are looking for a supplemental player alongside their stars, where I think some of these guys could fit in very, very well. So what is your comp for Omar Cooper Jr.? You mentioned like if you were to pin the mentality of a player on someone, you would go Puka Nacua, but what's your overall comp?
Overall, right now, I landed on Rashee Rice, which
interesting.
I know that Rashee Rice isn't again the most physically imposing.
The confines of my comp. We'll see.
But I can also see to a certain extent, I can see a Terry McLaurin bit to this. Where
you're going a completely different direction.
Yeah, like and again, that's just kind of maybe the best way to say it. With Omar Cooper being so well-rounded, I don't necessarily think that he's pigeonholed to like making, to being the best player that he can be in a certain offense. I think he can thrive in any kind of offense and find a role. And when it comes down to fantasy, it results in production. So I'm not stuck. I haven't found the one comp. I haven't finalized anything yet with Omar Cooper. But again, on the surface, for the mentality, the physicalness and the toughness that he brings, you can't really look at Omar Cooper and go, I don't like what he brings to the table.
I mean, he's getting a lot of steam from people that I respect as evaluators within the community. So I think Omar Cooper, like if I go back and watch a few more games, he could be definitely a riser in my rankings. Where I'm at right now, I can't really land on a comp either. So I'm just going to say he's somewhere between Kadarius Toney and Deebo Samuel.
I can kind of see the Deebo just from a build.
But that's why I'm like, he's not Deebo. Because I hate that comp. I hate that comp.
There's always a Deebo. There's always a Deebo. There's never a Deebo.
And I hate that comp because there's not another Deebo. But like, he's tougher than Kadarius Toney. But when I look at like play style, where I think they're both are going to thrive, or where I think Omar Cooper is going to thrive in the NFL, like it's going to be in a very similar role. So I don't know. He's somewhere between the two, where I'm like, he'll be a serviceable wide receiver 2 on some NFL team out there, I'm sure. I don't know if he'll ever develop into like a star cornerstone piece. I actually don't think he will, but somewhere in between the two.
And again, the whole thing about him being so well-rounded is that I don't want to say you can fit him into the mold, but you're like, there are shades of this player. There are shades of this player. Like, he's not one specific player, at least in my, like, maybe it's completely missing me, but just like there are, again, the mentality of Puka Nacua. There is the physicalness and the build of Deebo Samuel without the speed. The speed is probably closer to Rashee Rice type of speed. So it's so many different players that you're just like, I don't know if I can exactly like land on just one single player for Omar Cooper.
I want to keep it moving to another player in DJ's top 50 that, again, knocked my socks off. A player that I really wasn't considering within the top 50 at all. Antonio Williams out of Clemson is currently 46th on Daniel Jeremiah's top 50. I understand he was consistently productive during his time at Clemson. I can appreciate that he's quick and twitchy on his routes, and also when he gets the ball in his hands as well. But man, his route running just needs to be more efficient if he's going to be a slot. He just needs to be more efficient. So where are you? Like, Antonio Williams isn't a player that I'm like in love with. I can see how Daniel Jeremiah gets to a point where he's like, you know what though? I can push him up that high. I get it, but I don't. I'm just like, I'm just kind of on Antonio Williams, and I think my comp is going to reflect that.
Yeah.
I don't love him, but I don't hate him. Like I get why evaluators like him, but there's nothing about his game where I'm like, gotta make sure he's in my top 5, my top 6.
Yeah. The best way to explain this is by me starting off with my comp.
Great.
And again,
I think my comp probably explains how I feel too.
Yeah, like it's not a again, it's not a single player, it's just vibes of a player that's in the league right now. It's Josh Downs.
Sure.
Where you're super twitchy, you've got short area quickness that not a lot of other receivers can give, or that other receivers have right now. You have some ability after the catch. You can, 50-50 or true like 50-50 balls, because if you're like on a undersized nickel corner, like Antonio Williams could probably go up and get it. But it's not always going to come. He's not always going to come down with it. He's just, I feel like he's a true slot wide receiver. And we, again, for the 4th time in the last week and a half, that slot wide receiver role is slowly going away in the NFL. So yeah. I just, and so your only hope is that he gets kind of pushed into, the outside.
Yeah, Joe Brady only wants to use small gadget players.
Yeah, we'll go 4 receivers. We'll go Keon Coleman, Josh Palmer on the outside, and Khalil Shakir. Or if you really want to get crazy, put Khalil Shakir and Keon Coleman on the outside, or Dalton Kincaid on the outside. You get what I'm saying.
Line up Antonio. Line up Antonio Williams a tight end.
I don't know if the size. Yeah, throw him in line and let James Cook run behind him. That's a great idea. Great idea. Yeah, I just think his ceiling is severely impacted. But again, for a guy that operates out of the slot, when Clemson lined him up there as much as they did, you can't help but just look at his film and just go like, man, I kind of enjoyed that. That was fun to watch.
Right. Yeah.
But you're just like, I don't know how well.
I get why evaluators like him.
Bingo. But I just don't know how well this is actually going to translate to the NFL.
Pepsi Khalil Shakir.
Yeah, that's a great one.
Pepsi Khalil Shakir. I think his ceiling is Khalil Shakir, but I think even Khalil Shakir has exceeded expectations. So I'll go Pepsi Khalil Shakir if you're truly believe that Coke is supreme in terms of the colas, then I'm going to say Pepsi. He's not quite RC Cola. RC Cola is like, I enjoy a good RC Cola. I didn't enjoy Antonio Williams enough to be like, oh, but you know what? There's a novelty to RC Cola. And it's just like, I don't get that. It's just Pepsi.
Well, think about it like this. If Khalil Shakir didn't have a Josh Allen as his quarterback,
how are we looking at him?
Yeah, right. Exactly. And that's the war with Antonio Williams.
Yeah, that's 100% it. Before we get into, we still have 4 players that we're going to talk about, but it is definitely going to be more of a rapid fire round with these last 4 players. So again, if you have enjoyed this content thus far, if you're still hanging around and watching this video, we have more comps coming. So make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn the notification bell as well, so you know when all of our newest content goes up. And we're bringing you plenty of other Dynasty content this offseason as well. Even just looking into March, we're going to be talking about free agency this next week. We're going to be talking about our Superflex rookie rankings. We're going to be talking about the impact of free agency, everything of the sorts. Dynasty buys and sells, more of those after free agency. So everything of the sorts we are covering this offseason. So make sure you're subscribed, hit that notification bell so you don't miss a beat. The rapid fire round, Ty, is I think, and honestly, I think Antonio Williams was really the start of players who I'm like, they're probably going to be just like solid, serviceable wide receiver 3s in the NFL. Nobody that I think is going to be like a true impact difference maker. We just had to talk about Antonio Williams there though, because Daniel Jeremiah had him so high, but Chris Brazzell II will be the first player that we kind of do a rapid fire round with here. I'll give you like a couple pros, a couple cons, and then we'll just jump right into the comps. The dude is tall. He's got big hands. He's got a massive catch radius. But But like almost every other freaking wide receiver out of Tennessee for me, he's just so raw and inconsistent. I wish I had a bit more tangibles to go off of here in terms of translation to the NFL. So where are you at on your comp?
Christian Watson.
Yeah, I think that's a fine one.
He's able to give you something downfield. He's able to give you something on some in breakers and kind of over the middle of the field, but he's not the slam dunker that you would expect at 6'5".
Nope.
And for being 6'5", the play strength that he has is like a major red flag. And I'm just like, dude, you are that much physically. You can do just like Goliath over dudes where you're just like, you are so much bigger, but you get bumped and you're just like, you don't give up, but it's just kind of over with. So it's a very different kind of wider Tennessee wide receiver thing with like the Jalen Hyatts and all those Tennessee receivers. But the reason why it may not work out is slightly different than some of the other Tennessee receivers. But again, the orange T on the helmet doesn't do him any favors.
No, not at all. Which is why I think if you have anything less than 20/30 vision, or you have a vision impairment of any kind, you could convince yourself this is Martavis Bryant.
Yep.
You're just looking and you're like, is that Martavis Bryant out there? And it's like, it's very clearly not Martavis Bryant, but you could like convince yourself that there's flashes of that in his game. So yeah, you could convince yourself it's Martavis Bryant if you had any kind of vision impairment. That's where I'm at on Chris Brazell II. Malachi Fields will be the next player we talk about here. Again, another guy that like I kind of like, but I don't think he's going to translate as well as I want him to the NFL. The elite size and strength is the headliner here. He wins everything up top, contested, outside of his frame, you name it. It's Malachi Fields' ball at the end of the day. But again, similar to these dudes with big frames, he's not a great route runner. He's not very quick. And the one thing that I'm really disappointed with, he's just got a limited route tree. And I wish there was more nuance to his route tree. And there just isn't. So I'll start with my comp this time around. And I think even like this one, I think is a little bit optimistic. But you know what? If you're a 90s kid, you'll get this one. He's Digimon Cortland Sutton. Clearly inferior to Pokemon. Like inferior by like 1,400 country miles to Pokemon. But he's got some Cortland Sutton in this game.
I can't help but agree with that one. I just Malachi Fields at least gave me some optimism after the Senior Bowl because he was able to kind of win the one-on-one stuff, but at the same time, the offensive guy should be winning those drills. Like the defense is at such a disadvantage in those drills. So it was good to see him go one-on-one and still win those. Because again, there were concerns going in, but at the same time, when you get into a game with a limited route tree, I'm just not sure that it's exactly going to work out. He may be kind of a, how do I say this? A Keon Coleman type where he's just rotating in because you kind of have to get him rotating in just to give the defense something else to worry about. But I don't want to say that there's not much here. But it just, Walmart Denzel Boston in some ways, or that like Denzel Boston is like the premium version of the X receiver, and Malachi Fields is just the opposite.
Denzel Boston has the premium fuel, but Malachi Fields is still paying the overpriced rate for gas.
Yes, that's
doesn't have as much to have a more luxurious, a better lifestyle because he still has to spend more on gas.
Yes, bingo. So ultimately, my comp is kind of that like Keon Coleman,
Yeah.
maybe like Cedric Tillman ish.
I also like a Cedric Tillman comp here.
I just,
I could see him being a Cedric Tillman kind of player. Like when, like, Cedric Tillman went on his 4-game stretch with the Browns in 2024, and you're like, see, this dude could be good. But then you just never see him again. I think Malachi Fields could definitely find himself as like a quick 4 or 5 game flash in the pan of like, he's actually good. And then you're like, oh wait, but this is why that's why he's actually not that great. 2 more players. Elijah Surratt out of Indiana as well. I want to make sure we cover him. He blends ruggedness and change of speed to create space. And I think that's very unique to his game. He's tough to bring down as well, but again, similar, we're getting to these guys who just have below average quickness, below average speed. And I would even go out to say for him, there's like no second gear and no top end speed, which is a little bit unfortunate. So where do you land in your comp?
I'm going to steal this one from the Great Lane Zerline. This is Allen Lazard.
I had thoughts of that too. When I read over his report, I'm like, actually, that's a lot better than I expected.
Yeah. And I maybe if I can look into Zerline's brain a bit, he only landed on Allen Lazard because Elijah Surratt is a demon at back shoulders and slot fades, which is where Allen Lazard and every Packer receiver made their living.
Yes.
So
yes. Get this dude in Green Bay right now.
Right now. Or hey, Pittsburgh.
Romeo Dobbs is leaving in free agency.
Pittsburgh, you really want to bring back Rodgers? Mike McCarthy? They would have a field day with the back shoulders. Oh man, that would be I'm just glad it wouldn't be in the NFC North. That's all that I will say. But like you said, explosiveness, not there. Speed, not there. Quick, not there. Somehow, some way he'll be kind of like a 50 catch guy. And it's just like, how did that happen?
Right.
But like, you don't want to give like the generic, like somehow he's always open kind of comment, but that's what I was like. I was like, how is this dude open as much as he is?
Like, that's my comp. It's Keystone Light Keenan Allen. I got to get a beer one in there. It's well below like your standard market lights, your Bud Light, your Miller Light, your Coors. Well below that, Keystone Light. I don't know anybody who drinks Keystone Light. So if we want to talk about guy who's always open, Keenan Allen, dude doesn't have speed. He's got a little bit of ruggedness to him, but somehow Keenan Allen's always open on the field. So Keystone Light Keenan Allen, that's where I landed. And it means that, like, lean into the Keystone and not the Keenan Allen portion of that comp.
He's the Hams Keenan Allen.
Hams, there you go. That's actually probably better. Hams is that's actually probably better. Yes, Hams Keenan Allen is if we're gonna make a beer comp. The last player that I want to touch on, Chris Bell. He's just so tough to fully evaluate with an ACL tear late in the 2025 season. I still see him as high as like wide receiver 7 on some boards. I'm inclined to keep him lower because, like, literally because of that ACL tear. He's difficult to evaluate now. And what's going to translate? He's already coming in at such a disadvantage fresh off an ACL tear. The production value is already going to be rock bottom. The dude is thick and athletic, though. I give him that. And what are you laughing at?
I can't keep this in much longer just because of what we've recently talked about a specific receiver not working out in the NFL after only 2 years. But continue.
We might have the same comp. Xavier
Leggetti.
Dude, that's the only normal one I had.
That's the only normal one I had.
All of my other ones are jokes, and I'm like, you know what? I could just say Xavier Legette. People be like, I get it.
It like, dude, all I could just summarize it like this: he's a bigger body receiver that isn't a super fluid route runner, but he's feisty at the catch point, and he's an above average threat after the catch. He's a sneaky threat after the catch because of the size, and it's like,
yep,
that's Xavier Legette. That is Xavier Legette. That is the exact reason why Xavier Legette snuck into the first round, because the teams are like, well, wait a minute. If we develop the route running a bit, look at what he's
because
got.
That's what's lacking. That's what's lacking. He doesn't sell his routes. He lacks quickness in his routes, and I get teams want to think they can refine that. But man, especially when you're coming in with an ACL disadvantage. I mean, talk about a guy who the Panthers probably had high hopes for in their first 2 years, and he's like literally got beat out by undrafted Joe Coker. I mean, I think that's kind of where you're at with Chris Bell.
I mean, can you imagine if he didn't tear his ACL, like how high people would have him on their draft boards?
Oh, I know. Yeah, I know. I know. Like he probably would be in the Denzel Boston and KC Concepcion conversation. And I mean, there was a reason have him behind them.
There was a reason why he was viewed as a round one wide receiver before he got hurt, because of how productive he was, and all the draft analysts, Mel Kiper, all going like, look at what we can have here. Look at what we can have here. And it's like, nah. We've seen this experiment play out before.
We played this game with Xavier Legette. I got clowned for calling him a bad first round pick.
I'm just saying.
I don't know what you want from
me. When it comes to rookie drafts, right, to bring it back to fantasy in some ways,
sure.
I'm not touching Chris Bell with a 10-foot pole, and because of a torn ACL, I'm not touching it with a 20-foot pole.
Yeah, if I even have roster in like a 5th round rookie draft, like if I have a 5th round pick and I'm willing to stash him and I don't have to cut him before the season. Like in our league, you know how we have 5 rounds of rookie drafts. We start with an expanded roster. By the time the regular season starts, we have to make roster cuts similar to NFL teams. Like I think Chris Bell would be probably one of those players where I'm like, maybe I'll spend the 5th round pick and just cut him before the season. But yeah, I have no interest in grabbing him round 3, round 4 in rookie drafts even.
No, I'm gonna be there are people that are gonna be working the phones looking to see if they can move up because they want their guy. I'm gonna be seeing, hey, who likes Chris Bell? Who likes Chris Bell? Do you want to come up for a Chris Bell? Because I know it's going to get to a point in a rookie draft where he's going to be by far the most intriguing name there. But because of the injury, that's the reason why he's going to slide. And I'm just going to be looking at it and I'm going to go, I can't do it. I can't do it.
We'll put a pin in it there. Thanks so much for tuning in. This was a lot of fun. I always enjoy when we do this episode, Ty, because it gives us, we don't compare notes that much before we come into these shows. Like we'll throw a thing or two in like our group chat of like, hey, you know what, caught this on Makai Lemon's tape. Like this really stood out to me. Or, we'll put something out into the Twitterverse where everybody can see it. But for the most part, like we didn't compare notes before the show. And so it's always fun for us to kind of hash out what we liked, what we didn't like, and how like different things that we caught actually connect to what the other caught as well. So again, appreciate that you all hung around and watched all of this. If you're still here at this point, you can follow our other socials as well if you want even more content. FF Fellas over on Twitter, the FF Fellas over on Instagram, Fantasy Football Fellas on Facebook and TikTok. We're in the thick of our Fix Your Franchise series over there. We're calling it realistically fixing teams, not because we don't want to riff off of NFL Stock Exchange, right? Like they're crushing it over there. We're not trying to rip off a Fix Your Franchise, but something similar. We're doing an exercise where we're trying to realistically fix teams in a single off season, or at least set them on the right path. If you want that content on YouTube, you're a YouTube person through and through. Fantasy Football Fellas shorts for you on YouTube. You can follow our personal socials as well. I'm at Lucas Wenzel on X, Camlaw FFF for Cameron, Tyler _Plath for Ty. As I said, we'll be back later this week for some quarterback and running back comps as well. It might be a little bit shorter of an episode. I don't think we'll have 11 players to cover in that episode.
Thank goodness.
If we get to 6 or 7, I think we're doing good then. So It was funny because you looked away and I literally did that. And you turned back and
I'm looking out this way.
oh man. Thanks so much, y'all. We'll see you later this week. Deuces.
Deuces.